I hope that doesn't get copyrighted. It isn't too long of a clip, but man, sometimes they get me for copyrights. A little bit of a busier road here. Stopped at a Hennepin County park and was gonna go for a walk. I got my box spring. I got my free box spring in the back. I've been sleeping on just a mattress, and man, I'm 42 years old, going from a plush pillow top, like 18-inch mattress, downstairs to like a 3 or 4 inch mattress. I can feel the springs and stuff, so I had to get a box spring. I went and got a free box spring this morning, and man, I tell you, I was jamming out to music, and just like that, I was born in the USA. Some songs just get you going. They get you fired up. And I have to say, there's this Meatloaf song that I heard. I'll do anything, but I won't do that. That is so true. And if I could lend your ear for just a minute, for me, I guess we got to go through life with some pretty strong boundaries and morals and ethics. Otherwise, we're going to bend, and we're going to bend to anything. I mean, there's really no exception. Well, if we bend for one thing, we got to bend for everything. It's like, so you have to. So when I listen to that Meatloaf song, and I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. I don't know what Meatloaf won't do for love, but there are things that I won't do. And, I won't bend my morals. I won't bend my ethics. I won't sort of be somebody that I'm not just to be something that I'm not to people who don't really care regardless, right? They only care when you're doing something that they don't like. Otherwise, if you're just complacent, you're just middle of the road kind of guy, people don't pay attention to you. But as soon as you, my friend, go against the grain and start rubbing people the wrong way and grow a ponytail and ride a motorcycle and join a club, and even though all these things are spiritual and near and dear to me, right? People don't think I should be doing them, so then they have a little bit of a different thing. So I'm pick up preaching today because life is difficult sometimes, but we don't give up. I didn't give up. I kept pushing. And yesterday I had the most amazing day yesterday. I was just taking it in, trying to stay present as it happens, right? Because I was with my buddy Jeff, and we ran into seemingly a messenger, right? I think I see an agate. A messenger. And a couple of years ago, I was on my motorcycle when I first started really riding around and getting, thousands of miles on. And I made my way out to a area that I used to go to when I first started riding. And that was in Annandale. And that was, I don't remember the lake, but there is a lake in Annandale. It's not Maple Lake. It's past that. But there is a lake in Annandale, and I used to park my bike at this dead-end road and go down and walk the beach. And one day I was walking the beach, my friends, and this lady came up to me, and, a just seemingly regular lady, and, no, I didn't know her. I'd never seen her before in my life. And for me, I had just started my YouTube channel. I think I was making a video, so I think maybe perhaps she heard me making a video and overheard some of my conversation. But she came down and talked to me, and she told me that I should quit chewing and that tobacco is bad, and she was a nurse for many, many, many years, and she had been through some very abusive situations and that sort of thing, and she really related to me. And I spent probably an hour and a half, 2 hours on that beach just kicking sand with her and talking and chatting. It was profound. It was so profound that when I got home, I got home and I had to tell my wife, right? I was just so naive to the fact that I thought everybody was having these experiences, right? Up and talked to her, and I'm like, you'll never guess what I think I met an angel, and really what I meant was I met a messenger. I met somebody who was coming into my life at the perfect time, right? The divine time, to tell me that I needed to quit doing some of the things that I was doing. Otherwise it was going to kill me. Now, it took me another 3 or 4 years before I quit chewing tobacco, but I have almost 9 months now. I quit the same time my dog died. I quit chewing in November 22nd. So I have that nugget, because she steered me in that right direction. And yesterday when we were talking about organized religion, and we're talking about spirituality, and we're talking about people we covered the spectrum in conversation, in due diligence. Okay, this guy that we ended up talking to ended up being a ex-retired Hennepin district attorney. So this guy comes up and is like, "Hey, y'all got smokes? Y'all got a smoke?" And we're like, "No, we ain't got smokes." And then that was the conversation starter. And I think that maybe that's his little secret crutch that he has. He likes to smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes a month and doesn't like to tell the wife because they smell. And it's just, and he saw 2 bikers, and we were actually down on the water meditating. We were actually running a meditation session. We were cross-legged facing the lake, and I had my hand in the sand, and we had just got done praying and meditating, and we were getting up, and this guy's like, "Hey, y'all got any smokes?" Because you know what? We look like stereotypical bikers. He's wearing a vest. I took my vest off, but I had my Dry Rider sweatshirt on, sport sweatshirt, which I don't ride without most of the time, right? Loud and proud, you guys. And I want people to ask questions. And obviously, he thinks we're bikers, and so it was that moment. And then that led to about an hour conversation. Conversation was so alluring and so enticing and so interesting. We learned a lot from him. And I guess after we parted, he kind of told us that he rode by again and started talking to us again, and it was like he told us that he had gotten a lot from us. And Jeff was on point with some of the things that he was saying, because we truly are looking at a divine person in another person, right? You are divine, I am divine, we're divine. We have that spark, that essence, right? That whatever you want to call it, man. It doesn't honestly matter. You don't even really have to put a word on it. Just know. Just in the knowing alone, you can be content and comfortable and never complacent, but just content in the present moment, right? And the divine, for me, is in each and every one of us. I've had my coffee this morning. I usually don't drink coffee, but I grabbed a cup going out this morning. I had to deliver my buddy's trailer from our house because we have too much stuff at our house. And in doing so, I unfortunately, we damaged it. So I have to figure out how I'm going to fix that. Sorry, Tom. I'll let you know here in just a minute. And also, I had to go get a box spring. I'm in the moment, I'm in the present. I don't have to sleep on that bed all day. So it's not like I have to worry about it all day. I just have to be uncomfortable for, 8 to 10 hours at night. And after that, I get up. A body in motion stays in motion. I used to just be a lug. I used to be a slug. I used to be just a unmotivated puddle. And it's taken me a long time to even get to where I am today. But progress, not perfection, my friends, because in this series of ups and downs and wins and losses and ins and outs, right? And the weave, we're going to come back together and we're going to lock up and sync up at some point, and you're going to get another train car, right? And then you're going to go through life and you're going to grab onto another one, you're going to get another one. So those train cars equate to experience and wisdom and knowledge and know-how and maybe a little bit of gumption and motivation and education and all that stuff in there, right? So having those train cars and looking back and knowing that you have all this experience, don't dwell on what you didn't get, but go look at what you did get. Open that toolbox and those tool cars, the train cars, toolbox, train car, whatever you got, open it up and take a selection out of what you need for this week, month, day, right? One day at a time. And plan it out and say, hey, I am dedicated to being more spiritual today. I'm dedicated to being more content. And we talked about that yesterday. Jeff touched on contentment quite a bit. And in our meditation, there is a growing, we'll say, ball of energy, we'll say, okay? And that ball of energy is your divine spark. And you want to hang on to that. And it's in in here, right? And don't let go of that. I'm learning the lingo and I'm learning the lay of the land here, but I know that it's divine spark that's within us and that we all have it. And so when I look at my friend Tom, and when I look at my friend, Billy, and I look at my friend Susie Q, and I look at my friend, Karen, Mark, Mike, all my friends, right? Just random names. I look at them people and I think, wow, how amazing is it that I have a friend in you that is something divine, and that we can offer each other so much in the way of talk. But really, truly what we do is we walk it out. And then I see, oh, that person, that's it right there. So less of this and more of this. We're going to create more of this divine spark in us, and God's going to use this more and more. The divine design is going to get implemented more and more in our life. And the more you struggle, and the more you move, and the more you fight it, and the more you just want to get out of it, and it's uncomfortable. Be comfortable in your uncomfortability. Be content in suffering. In fact, suffer in silence. I'm working on that. The SIS, the suffer in silence. That is a very, very good term to use when you're having a hard day, or when you're having, because you know what? That struggle is for you, and whoever you're going with it is for that, right? It's for you and them, right? Or maybe it's just you, or maybe it's your spouse, or maybe it's you and your spouse, and maybe it's a combination of people. But you are going through the struggles that you're going through because the divine design in your life calls for it at this time. And it's not so much what you're not getting out of life. Don't worry about that. You're getting everything you need at the right time. But it's what you're going to get out of each situation. So don't look at things as a failure, or as a miserable mistake, or as a this or that, right? Look at it as an opportunity to see, gosh darn, well, man, I might not have to do that again. Or, wow, that's not something that I need in my life. I need to create a boundary to keep that away. Or let's think about some of the preventative maintenance that we can do in our recovery, and the triggers and the relapse responses that people tend to have when they get into trouble, right? So instead of putting in place a boundary, they drink, or they drug, or they just assume that that's going to get them out of this. But that is a mistake, because that is an insanity. And each time we do that, we're getting train cars and locking up with more bad behavior, actions, ways and means of being, and we're gonna collect that, and we want to break free from that and get out of that. Wow, that's just nonsense. Amen. Man, I'm feeling good today. Get a little air in here. Feel it today, man. I'm feeling it. Yesterday we just had a profound day, and last night I had a conversation with my wife that, was pretty productive. And it's still a one day at a time thing, right? We still take it one day at a time. It's Saturday morning about 10, 11 o'clock, and there's a reason to be motivated this morning, and it's not coffee, and it's not this or that. It's the fact that we get a chance to do it again, and that God didn't take us out yet. So that just means that we have to keep fighting. And each day we wake up and we get that little bit of a reset, we have to wake up and approach the day with the same mindset that we had yesterday if it was successful. And if it wasn't, we got to change it up. And that's what happened. I had to change up my attitude. I had a little bit of a woe is me, poor me thing going, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, look at the positivities. I didn't know I was going to get my own space so soon, but now I have my own space in the basement, apparently. So that, I'm looking at that as a positive. I get to redo my room. I get to bring everything from upstairs, downstairs, and I get to set up my own area. And, I share a lot with you guys because I care. Not because I'm looking for pity or sympathy or looking for people to know my business. Not like that. I'm an open book. I don't honestly care what people think or what they view of me. I do to a degree, and I care what certain people do think, but there has to be a boundary in my life, because I used to care what everybody thought. I used to care what everybody thought of me, and I better be this person to this person, this person to that person, this person to that person. And when I quit drinking, when I quit alcohol, I quit doing the substance or the spirit or whatever the nasty thing that you want to call it is. It's poison is what it is. Once I got it out of my life, out of my vision, out of my spirit, and I cleared up after a couple, 2-3 years, I started to realize that this life is spiritual. And that each time I took a drink, I was de-spiriting myself and my spirit. I was taking a little bit away, and I think it's a poison, you guys. And I think they've made it such a big deal in our society, and it's on every corner, and it's on every billboard, and it's on every ad on TV, and everybody does it, and it's cool, and you're not cool unless you're drinking. And I thought that too, because you know what? I didn't have role models in my life to teach me otherwise, because it wasn't no thing. I just told myself I wasn't going to do that, and then I fell right into it, because I didn't realize that drug addiction is what people do when they're seeking a relief from the things that they were running from. Amen. And things that they're running from: trauma, abuse, neglect, emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, trauma, the whole gambit, right? And everybody has some sort of something that they're carrying. I'm sorry, it's true. Nobody's perfect. Things have been done to some of us that are out of bounds, and people that do those things perpetually do that, and so it becomes a cycle. And they're evil people that do that. People that abuse other people, either emotionally, intentionally we're talking about, okay? We're not talking about inadvertently subsequently hurting people through some of your minor actions. We're talking about people who are actually out there actively abusing and being predators. Those people are the bottom of the barrel, because those people that do that had a choice, and they made a choice to do that. And it's just like I made a choice in 2010 or 2011 to go walk into a pharmacy and have a gun and rob them and take them of what they had. That was my choice to do that, and I had to live with the consequence now. I've had to. But for me, I've also lived with the consequence of being a good father, a dependable person, a loyal person, an honorable person, somebody who shows up and does what he says what he does what he says, all that stuff, right? But I've also made some bad mistakes in my life, and that have pushed me into a position in life where I have had to really be unique on trying to find jobs and that sort of thing. Because, you know, even though my offense was, 2010, 2011, I don't even really remember. It's been so long ago, you guys. And that's not something I really talk about a whole lot on here, because it's just, you know, it's kind of just something that has been in the past. But I share that with you guys because, you know, it's part of my story. So yeah, and so people do things on alcohol or under the influence, or when they're inebriated or intoxicated, that necessarily they don't mean to do at the time or whatever, but they did it, and they have to live with the consequences. And God has those people who do those things in a position where they're either going to be rotting away in prison for the rest of their life, or they can change their ways and try to do a little bit of redemption and get back out and try to help victims and stuff like that. A lot of avenues that we can go down, right? Wow, 20 minutes. Thanks for listening to me, you guys. I know, not really terribly exciting content, and nothing that is earth-shattering or blowing your socks off, but, you know, there are people out there that need to hear the message of hope. And I'm sorry that I've been lacking in that department. It's been a little rough lately. I've been trying to figure out where my life is going, and, a lot of people who said that they support me secretly and honestly don't support me, and there was a way of finding that out, and I guess I found that out a little bit. So, I joined a motorcycle club, a clean and sober motorcycle club. I grew out my hair. I am a little bit more brash and a little less caring as of late. I have all these other great abilities and skills and things and aspirations, and everybody sees so much in me, but when it comes down to it, I honestly really truly have just me and my family, my immediate family, and they can be swayed too in a certain way or direction, because other people are such indoctrinated with how you should be and how you need to live your life, and you have to go to a job Monday through Friday, you have to work 40 hours a week, you have to make a certain amount of money or you're not successful. If you don't go to college, you're knocked down a peg and you're considered less than. And it's just, these people, these baby boomers, they just think that we have to work just as hard as they did to get where they are or whatever. But literally, these people are collecting Social Security that we're probably not even going to get. And so I'm not banking on any of that. And I've tossed all that we've learned and all the educational indoctrination that we've gotten through the schools. It's garbage, you guys. The schools aren't teaching us anything. They're not preparing us for life. I went and graduated from high school, and I was just I was set up for failure. They let me work. They let me out on a work release, so I started working when I was 17, cabinet shops, and then I would leave school, and then I graduated on the work program. So I didn't even really finish the book portion of the education, but it was more of a trial by fire with my behavior, because at that moment in time when I was going through high school, I was kind of friends with everybody, but not friends with anybody, right? I was cool with certain people because I knew I didn't want to get my ass kicked, so I was cool with Troy Powers, and I was cool with all the Troys that were big, and high school was hard for me because I wanted to fit in so bad. And I had moved from the farm when I was 15 down to a city, a real populated city like Elk River. And going from the farm to Elk River, that was a real eye-opener for me. And there was some trauma with that because my life changed in an instant. I didn't know that when my stepdad now Greg, was coming up to get me in Warren, Minnesota, that he was going to be bringing me down, and I was going to be starting school in a new school and going away from my mom and my sister and moving to a new city, and it just like that, my life changed. It was pretty wild, and it was a culture shock. I went from seeing combines and tractors and dirt roads to a concrete jungle with people who were drinking, smoking weed, and having sex. And within my first year of being down there, I lost my virginity at 16. I smoked my first joint at 15, 16. I was breaking into cars. I was breaking into the apartments that we lived in. I was finding porn. I was finding alcohol. I was finding drugs. I was finding other things in these garages that I shouldn't have been finding. And here I had two little stepbrothers that I was influencing in such a bad way because my behavior was out of control. And but I was also being physically abused, and I was also being sat on. Greg, I don't know if you guys know Greg, but he's a pretty big guy. He's 6'3", 6'4", and a couple 100 pounds, and he would sit on me to the point where I couldn't move. So I had him arrested, and he has that on his record, and they made me feel bad about that for quite a long time. Like I was the culprit of making somebody physically abuse me, but really that's not the truth, right? So I've come to terms with some of these things that I've learned in my therapy. And EMDR therapy has helped me immensely. It's an emotionally draining, but emotionally building exercise or type of therapy. It creates in me a safe place where I can access some of the bad memories that I've had that I thought maybe weren't so instrumental in my adolescence, but they were. And being dominated and physically abused by people who were supposed to be my caretakers is not the way it's supposed to be. Now there's a way to move forward from that, and it's hard, you guys. It's difficult because I see these people as adults now. I don't see them as like my mom and my dad, and I see them as my parents, but I don't, right? I can't, because ever since I was 15, 16, that trust was broken. And it never got rebuilt. They never apologized, or they never said, hey, I'm sorry for the way we treated you. That must have really been impactful on you at that age, because you were going through so much other stuff and all these changes and trauma and neglect and abuse. And when I went into religion in 2020, 21, 22, I felt a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, because I felt like it was my fault that some of these things had happened. But I learned in my therapy that we are empowered by what we've been through, because it wasn't our fault. So we should be emboldened to talk about it and to have a safe place to relive it. Only in a safe place, you guys, because what happens is we try to relive these experiences, and when we start to think about them in our own cluttered and messed up mind, we want to go back and revert to the alcohol or the drugs or the behavior or the actions, the ways and the means of being that weren't helping us, because we just wanted to be numb, right? We just wanted to experience some comfortability and some absence from that way of life. And I sympathize with those who have been abused, neglected. I have a very strong viewpoint of that. And if, for some reason, you have chosen to do those things in your life, right, because they were done to you, you're still redeemable, right? There's still a path to redemption. I'm not the judge and jury of you. So whatever I say out of frustration or emotion, I don't necessarily mean for all those people to have a bad life or to be, taken out or to be hurt or to be harmed or anything like that. In fact, it's more the opposite, that when I think about it, I would want them people to get more help than the average person because of what they've been through, and they have to realize and come to terms with and recognize and be aware that those behaviors are not okay, and those behaviors perpetuate and push the envelope and the cycle of abuse and neglect. Because once you envelop somebody with that sort of trauma, they literally spend their whole lives trying to find a way to not be enveloped by those things and labeled and stamped and all that. So we fight our whole life to try to get away from that label. And when it's constantly reminded in our mind, we want to use drugs or alcohol to get rid of the feeling. But there's another way. And I'll end with this. There's another way. There is a 1 day at a time program or practice that you can do that will help you push through some of these feelings, because each day you collect that is a win, right? You'll be a lot more wins than losses, I think, if you're really trying. You'll collect those days and you'll look back and you'll say there's a collection of good days and 1 or 2 bad days here and there. So outweigh the scales and tip the scales, and then you're off to the races. Keep going with that 1 day at a time mindset, outlook, and surround yourself with people who are going to be healthy for you. And honestly, you guys, sometimes you're going to find out the hard way that some people aren't good for your life, but let it be. As soon as you know that, let it be, and put the boundary in place and allow yourself the strength and the courage to not go back to the same people who are doing things to you that have done things to you. And it doesn't just need to be abuse. It could be emotional or manipulation or all this stuff that people do. You don't need it in your life if it's not healthy for you. And you are the arbiter of that, so you can put into place a boundary, and you don't have to put up with those people. You can be kind, and you can be funny, and you can be this, you can be that, you can be supportive, but you don't need to let those people into your life, because that's what they want. They want integration into your life and into your choices and into your plans and into your this and into your that, so they can enforce or put down what they want for you, right? But it's what's best for you, and it's what God wants for you. It's what that divine design is for you, for your life, right? Oh man, what a morning. So now I have a video to edit. I'm going to go home and edit this, and I'm going to get it out to you guys and hope that somebody is helped by these messages, because you know what, this testimony is, it's difficult to talk about, but it's freeing. And I've been talking about it for so long now, and this channel is such a wide variety of videos on this channel that you could literally pick any video and hopefully it would be something that would be able to speak to you. And if not, then maybe this channel isn't for you. And I just ask those people to maybe just pass this up. But if you do like the messages, give me a like. I love seeing likes. It is a dopamine hit when we see a like, right? It's got to be somehow. It's not like a heroin hit, but it's something. It makes you feel good. You see and you feel that people are supporting you and that they're driving with the message. And I want to thank Jeff. I really do, man. There's not a lot of dudes out there that I say I love you to, but there are a few that I can keep in my mind, because I know it's a true brotherly love. There's a divine design for that love, and in love, I think people relate to ooey gooey, mushy ushy, that kind of stuff. But love is a strong word. Love creates strength in you if it's a true love, and if it's a genuine divine bond between you and somebody and you just can't explain it, that's okay. let it define itself in our actions to each other and to that love that defines our friendship. Amen. So don't forget, man, be kind to one another, because you never know when that person, you could there has been many times in my life where I have ran into somebody and like, oh, I'll never see that guy again, and then I see them again. So don't forget to be kind, be generous in that kindness, and allow people a sight into what they should, right? And be kind, be generous with that kindness. Goes a long ways. You guys have a good Sunday. I'll see you on the next one.